Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Suzanne Longstreet. Hey, Suzanne.
Hi, Kimberly. It's nice to meet you and see you again.
Yes, yes. So wonderful. And just so people know who you are, I'm going to read your bio.
Okay.
So, Suzanne Longstreet is the Millionaire Maker. Over the past decade, she has coached six-figure action-oriented female entrepreneurs to blast through their limiting thought patterns, reprogram their minds for success, and achieve seven-figure revenues annually. Through her work, Suzanne has empowered many women to break through their own glass ceiling and unlock their full potential using a combination of powerful techniques, including neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, positive intelligence, quantum linguistics, and timeline therapy. Suzanne guides clients to reprogram their unconscious minds and overcome the limiting beliefs and negative patterns that hold them back. Well, I would like to learn more about you and how you're doing this because we all want to be millionaires and we all want to blast through these limiting beliefs that are keeping us from being our best. So tell me about you. Tell me your story.
Goodness, how long do we have? I I my background is in human resources. So I first started in corporate and human resources, hiring and firing people as a generalist, administration and all of that. And I soon discovered that through that process, I was really frustrated with people not communicating. The managers were just wanting, they hired people and then they didn't work out. And so instead of communicating with them, they would just fire them. And so I would do all this work to get somebody great, and then they would just fire them because they would refuse to just talk, just have difficult conversations. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go into the training department and see if I can teach people how to communicate, and I'll work through in performance management. And I became an expert in performance management, competencies, studying all of the emotional intelligence. And I would teach them how to do it. And they would still refuse to have difficult conversations. And I would just get frustrated. We would hire these great people. They would refuse to have conversations and difficult conversations. And we've been seeing people leave, great people leave, and not realizing their full potential. And I thought, okay, something's got to change. Well, before I could do anything else, I was fired for my behavior. So I went from an Excel employee in the human resources department and training department. I decided I'm going to take my genius and all this wisdom that I have into the pensions area. And they did not appreciate me because I wanted to, let's talk about things. And they were like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what to do. So it was not a fit. And I took it very personally for many, 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 many years, thinking I took it personally. I was bad. I was a horrible, like, even though I'd had many, many good things happen, that one thing, one experience just made me want to just crawl in and become invisible and not show up, not post on LinkedIn, certainly not face, like just crawl into a hole. So then I thought, I'm going to be a coach. Let me be a coach and teach people how to communicate, and all these mental fitness things that I've been doing all these years, and manifesting and spirituality. Let me just share all of this wisdom. And so that was about 2011, but I still had this, you're bad. You don't know what you're doing. Who do you think you are? A little meanie sitting over here. And so I thought, I know, I'll start a networking group. So I started a networking group called Pinkpreneurs. I thought, okay. So, and what I really loved about it is I went to my mom, who was at that point in her 70s. I said, Mom, I'm starting a networking group and it's called Pinkpreneurs. She goes, I get it. I went, yay. I finally found something that is so easy. My parents get it.
Mhm.
So I started this networking group. And all of a sudden, I was more visible because I was selling Pinkpreneurs, come to my meeting. And I was still hiding and not telling anybody that I was a business coach, a clarity coach, and any of that. I would hide behind it because it was a whole lot easier to sell into a $10 meeting than it was into a, at that point in time, $300 a month coaching package with me.
Mhm.
And so I continued to do that, and my coaching business started to grow. And then I was getting seen by people. And influencers in my community were saying, "Ooh, have you heard about this Suzanne Longstreet person. And so clients were starting to come even more. My business was getting bigger. And so I did what every person who has low self-worth does, is they sabotage everything. They sabotage the relationships between everybody. They cut themselves off. They do all of these things. And this was about 2014. And then I went, okay, there's a common denominator here. And it's not everybody else. It's me. I need to change me. I know. I've been always interested in this neurolinguistic thing, neurolinguistic programming, NLP. And this lovely woman called me up and she goes, Suzanne, I think you're an ideal client. Would you like to come and take my weekend course? I'm your ideal client? You see me? You can see the theme here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I will come and I'll pay the $200. And I signed up for the $5,000 course and I took the NLP practitioner course. And then they said to me, well, if you come in 2 weeks and take the master, you can become a master coach in neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis and timeline therapy. You can guarantee results in writing. Sign me up. And then they said, oh, if you come next week, we're starting trainers training and you can teach this stuff. Well, by this point in time, what was happening inside of me was I was realizing some of the programs that weren't serving me. And through the techniques in class with people who were literally reading a script. And I was having huge shifts inside of me and going, hey, this stuff really works, because I'm a critic. I want to know it works. I'm a skeptic and a critic and an analytical mind. This is really working. And I really knew it worked because that year, 2015, I brought in about $15,000 in revenue. And the following year, because I was out of my way, I really believed in these tools and techniques, I went from $15,000 to $60,000 in the year. So quintupled my revenue, and then have continued to grow every year, because what happens is I use these techniques. I work with other NLP coaches to help me identify my blocks, because as we spiral up, we come up with blocks, right? And I keep getting them cleared. So that's what led me into doing the work that I'm doing and finding out more about what stops us from entering into those difficult conversations, what behaviors are stopping us, the beliefs that are stopping us. And what I have discovered is every client is different. And when they come to me, I might be going a little bit further, but when they come to me, they have some sort of block. And when we work on whatever that block is, we don't even need to know what it is. We don't have to name it. They go out in the world and they just take action differently and they show up differently. And that's what turns them from, maybe not reaching out and charging their worth, or puts them into being more of a millionaire, or even just doubling their revenue, which is not a bad thing either.
Awesome. So, you had quite a journey from human resources to trainer to, going out on your own. So were you married at this time or had a family during this time?
So just before I started into human resources, I was married to husband number one. And husband number one, affectionately known as the asshole, sometimes the jerk, dip face, many other terms. He was quite controlling, quite possessive, and in all areas, and physically abusive. But I stayed for a year with him so in my early human resources career, I was with him for about 3 years. And then for 10 years was single and purposely single, like didn't want to attract it, wanted to crawl into a hole, was living with what I now know, because victims of domestic violence are often living diagnosed with complex PTSD due to the fact that they're living in life-threatening situations at home, and there are multiple situations. So he had threatened to kill me multiple times. And I didn't know it. And so I was showing up in the work world with complex PTSD. So as soon as somebody just looked at me the same way he looked at me, I would go into full-on reaction, and which is the reason I was fired for my behavior. They couldn't name it. They didn't know what it was, but there was this thing that happened to me, and my behavior changed. Well, I now know 20 years later that it was complex PTSD. And then, so my second marriage, I met the man of my dreams in round about just after I had left the corporate world. And before I started, just before I finished my first coaching designation. And so he was with me and supporting me and all my crazy ideas throughout my entrepreneurial journey.
So
And he's
cool.
still with me today, thank God.
So, do you remember him saying that he saw a shift in you as you were going through this? What was his experience in relationship with you?
I love that question. I don't often share this. So what had happened throughout the training, I went to him and I said, okay, it's going to cost $5,000. I'd really like to take it. I think this is going to, and I, build a business case because it was our money that I was spending. And he said, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And at one point he said to me I said, I'm going to go back and do the next set. And he goes, well, you might as well, you got no clients. And he didn't say it in a mean way. He just said it in a factual way. And I went, okay, I think that's a good thing. So anyway, so he was very supportive and we pulled the money together. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. And then, because again, I hadn't been making money for years before that. And then as I went through and I would work with other people, we were practicing doing the processes with each other. And one day, I didn't realize this, but he came in and he goes, I was talking to him and I said, I really want more clients and I want to help people. And he goes, well, yeah, of course you do, because there's been such a huge shift in you. And I went, there has been? Because when you see it from the inside, you don't notice the outside changes. He goes, yeah. When I used to walk into the room, Suzanne, you would go, what's going on? What did I do wrong? And I went, I did. He goes, yeah. I would walk in and it's such a relief to me because I was reacting, right? Like, what does he want now? And he goes, it's just so lovely. You're just so much calmer. I'm not as reactionary. I wasn't triggered as often, all of those things.
That is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So, and how has that changed the way the two of you communicate with each other?
Yeah, good question. So a couple of months ago, maybe even last year, we were in the kitchen. I was sitting at the dining room table. We're in a open area, right? So I was in the dining room looking at him and he was in the kitchen doing something. And he walked in and I said, I just made a question or a statement or something. And he goes, oh. And I went, that's very unlike him.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of me going, oh, whatever, and like fighting, rising to it, I just went, oh, he's been triggered by what I said. What did I say? Okay. What's going on with him? So this is what's going on in my mind. So I just calmed down, breathed in and out and went, everything okay? No. Again, this man is very calm. Okay. Anything I can, is there something I did? Is there, like, you're clearly triggered here, which is not the right thing to say. And he goes, yeah, I'm bothered because you're just you. Again, really unusual for him. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go. Good. And I went, this is really unusual. So a couple hours later, we were meeting back again in the common area because he works downstairs in the basement and I work upstairs in the second level. I said, so what's going on? He goes, I don't know. I was just hungry. I'm like, okay. You're okay? He goes, yeah, I'm fine. I don't know. And he apologized. But it was just before I would have been, like I would have gone at him and 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 at like I would have chased him around the house. And I did in the past. I chased him around the house. Like, what's going on? And to the point where he would get in his car and leave the house. Like, so now it went from him having to get in the car and leave to me going, I'll talk to you in a bit, So that's what's really shifted. And we were at the grocery store last week and they're making some major changes in the grocery store. They moved the salad dressing from the end of aisle 8 on this end to the end of aisle 9 on that end. And it didn't, and the signs haven't changed yet. So we're walking around. I'm going, I know the salad dressing was here. I swear to God. So we saw these lovely ladies who buy the personal shopping, and they were going around, and so they know where everything is in the store. And I said, excuse me, can you tell me where the salad dressing is? They said, oh yeah, it moved to the end of aisle 9. Oh, thank you so much. That's an unusual shift. She goes, lots of things have changed in the store. And I said, okay, well, now we know who to ask. Thank you so much. And we were laughing and joking, and we walked away. And then this other woman, we met her again in the aisle, and she goes, thank you so much for not yelling at us. Everybody's coming in and yelling at us because management has decided to move things in the store, and we're just trying to do our jobs. And I said, of course you are. Why would we yell at you? We know the decision. So we're just a little bit more calmer, both of us, because I'm calmer, not him. He's lovely. I did the work, and we just are more enjoyable to be around, both of us. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. So now when you're working with clients, what kind of things are you working with for them? What kind of you're talking about neurolinguistic programming, and maybe not everyone even knows what that is, or that there's a communication part to it. And so why don't you describe a little bit about what that is and how it affects communication?
Yeah. So neuro-linguistic programming is, so neuro, brain, linguistic, the words that we use, and then programming, how we program ourselves. So it was actually created by Richard Bandler and John Grinder way back in the 70s when they were studying psychotherapy. They were graduate students. One was actually a professor. Grinder was a professor of psychology, and they were starting to look at it through new lens, psychology through a new lens. And because Bandler has a mathematician's brain, and he was looking at psychotherapy from a mathematician's brain. So cause, effect, X plus Y equals Z, whatever, all of the. And so he was able to study Dr. Virginia Satir and her family therapy. And he said, okay, what she's doing, if we do this, then this, then this, we can have a similar result. And so he would practice these things. And he started by working with people who had phobias, fear of flying, fear of clowns, fear of spiders, fear of. And he was able to help them shift that phobia, in fact, clear it in a 20-minute session. And so he would go back to the psychotherapists and psychiatrists, et cetera, in the field and say, okay, you need to stop charging years of therapy because this can be gone in half an hour in one session. They didn't like that. So they didn't really like NLP because it was so fast. So what it is, it's a study of excellence, NLP, of looking at how other people have been doing these great techniques in all different areas and bringing it down to, in computer terms, minimal viable product, so that we can come in as practitioners and just clear it without having to understand it. And the nice thing about neurolinguistic programming is we often don't even need to understand what the problem was in the beginning or how this started. We just can clear it. And so what's also happening is clients come in and they know that something, because a lot of people who've suffered trauma don't even know what happened when they were 2 or 3 or 5 or 12. They don't have to relive it. They just have to trust their unconscious mind to clear it for them. And all I do is read a script. I just have to know what script, what technique to do based on the problem, and we just clear it. So at its root, neurolinguistics is a study of excellence and leaves behind a trail of techniques and processes. But honestly, the biggest one is neurolinguistic. So how you talk to yourself. Every thought that you have, you're programming. So if we continue to program and say, like I was doing in the past, as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I? How could I do that? Like that. So then my unconscious mind will go, yeah, right. Because the unconscious mind is just a servant. It's just listening all the time. In fact, I've got this great quote from Dr. Deepak Chopra that I'm going to read. And he's, of course, Dr. Deepak Chopra. And he said, the immune system is constantly eavesdropping on the internal dialogue, which goes to anything that happens in the body is happening as a result of what we're saying to ourselves. So if it's happening in the body, it's happening in the results that we get. So that's my description of neurolinguistic programming.
That's probably the best one I've heard in a long time. So
Oh, good.
I think people can understand that. So that is great. So, um, and then so people are clearing things through these processes. Um, but also they have to learn to speak in a way that is received. And do you work with people on that, on their languaging?
Yeah, it's interesting because oftentimes what'll happen is so in the second session that I do with them is we do timeline therapy, which is we float up above the timeline and out into the past to before the event happened, and we get the learnings from the event, and they're positive and they're about the individual. And so I record those individuals on a piece of paper, those learnings that are positive about the person, because that's really their message from their unconscious mind saying, no, 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 you are worthy. You are lovable. And I record whatever that is, including I am delightful, I'm a unicorn, I've had all sorts of, I'm a child of the divine, all sorts of different ones come out of the individual because they're very individual. And then I say to them, okay, so then I do the clearing. So we do the techniques and we clear it. And then I email it to them and say, here are your learnings or your affirmations that are yours. They're not something that somebody else told you need to say that your unconscious mind might go, that's not true. And they kick them out, but they're the persons that they've created that they know are really at their soul level are theirs. And then I invite them to say them twice a day. And how we do it using neurolinguistic programming is we want to use our senses. So we want to see it. So I have them printed out, see it, and then they say, I am lovable. And then I have them speak it into their left eye, the receiving side in the mirror. I am lovable. So that they hear it, feel it. And if you can taste it and smell it, that'd be great too. But at least use those three senses. So, and I have them do that twice a day over 30 days. And then what happens is they all of a sudden just react and respond differently because they know who they really are. They remember who they truly are. Mm-hmm.
And that is amazing because, the things we say to ourselves sometimes, especially when we just make a mistake or an error or just a misjudgment, and all of a sudden all this judgment on ourselves comes down.
Yes.
Why did you do that? Why
Well, not only
you're not
that, not
very,
only,
you're stupid for doing that. Why did you do that? We say all these things to ourselves, and a lot of times it's just something really simple, like we put our keys in a different place and we couldn't find it. It's
yes. And not only does our voice come in, but we hear our mother's voice and the teacher's voice and the previous whatever relationship we were in, what may not have been kind to us. All of these voices merge, and as Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about in the Beyond Biology of Belief, it becomes a record that's just playing inside of the unconscious mind, and we don't even know what's on it. But all of a sudden, it's just like shame, guilt. And it's horrible. It's just awful. Yeah. And those are gestalts, right? So they just all form. So we clear the gestalts using these techniques just so that all those negative beliefs and negative emotions are just clear. And so what happens is that when something happens, because we still get triggered, right? When I'm driving, I get triggered all over the place. It's like, why did you cut me off? And in the past, I would, do something, road rage would come out. And now I go, okay, you're in a bigger hurry than I am. All right, I'll just let you go. So it's not effort filled. I don't have to do anything. I just can be like, well, isn't that a lovely response? I can just let it go. I don't have to effort it, I think is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and don't we all want to just let it go?
Yeah.
Let it go and feel peaceful.
Yeah. Let me look at the daisies again because they're so pretty right now.
Right. Because, when we get upset about something outside of ourselves, we're the only ones that's upset.
Right? As
We're
Oprah
just
said.
hurting ourselves.
Yeah. What was it? What Oprah said about the person that she was so mad at? And she said, I realized they were living their life and I was drinking poison and thinking that I was hurting them and I wasn't. So she just shifted her thoughts. So
Mhm.
that's what we do. Yeah.
So in your bio, I read the Millionaire Maker. So what does all this have to do with business and making millions?
Do you know what's so funny is so you've heard my explanation of NLP. You've heard what I do. You've heard my backstory. And I didn't come out. My goal is to help people to understand themselves, clear what's not serving them so that they can, just be better communicators and step into difficult situations. That's my goal, my purpose. What the outcome became was people, when they were working with me, they were getting clear and making more money because they were showing up differently. They had released all of the previous fears that were stopping them from perhaps charging more or showing up on a bigger stage or getting on more podcasts. That was just gone. So they were able to absorb what their coaches were telling them of strategies, how to move forward and build their businesses. And they were, and or reading the book or listening to the podcast or whatever they were doing. And they were like, oh, I'm just taking action different. So it was interesting because how I became the Millionaire Maker was in 2021. I had this lovely client who came to me and she said, Suzanne, I've really been wanting to. I've been at about 500K for a couple of years now, and I really want to get to 1 million. And she had joined another program to get her there. And so she had all the actions that she needed to do, but she knew she was in her own way and she didn't know how to break it. And she'd tried many techniques that were helping, but nothing had like really given her the impetus to get to the million. This was August, 3 years ago. And she said, I really want to get to the $1 million mark. I said, okay. So I heard through the grapevine, through referrals, that you're really good with money goals. And I went, okay, well, that's interesting. I pride myself as an NLP master coach, a clarity coach, a business coach, strategy, communication. I guess I help people with money. So we started to work. Did we talk about money? No, we didn't talk about money at all because money is just the symptom. It's not the problem. It's the symptom. And we cleared the things that were really stopping her. And within 110 days, I went back and counted. She got to $1 million.
That is amazing.
Uh-huh. And so the next year, I thought I really liked her. And so I was attending one of her events and she asked me to be a sponsor. And I said, sure, I'll be a sponsor. I'll show my book. Little plug.
Mhm.
And so I said, yeah, sure, I'll come and I'll sell my books or give away my books and talk to people. And she went around the room and she introduced everybody. And again, so the book is called Invisible to Invincible. And she forgot me. And she forgot to introduce me. She goes, okay, that's everybody. And I'm like, hi, me too. And she goes, oh, Suzanne, I am so sorry. Of course, you, the Millionaire Maker. Everybody meet Suzanne Longstreet, the Millionaire Maker. And I went, hey, that's a great title. And then I went, but I can't own that because it's only one. And then I went back and I went, hold on a second. I helped this person and this person. Hey, I currently can say that I have about 10 to 12 people that I've helped move from multiple six figures to over 1 million consistently annually. And that's my claim to fame. So I've claimed the Millionaire Maker title based on what my clients' results have been.
All right. Well, tell us about your books.
The new book or these books. Okay. So this book was my first one that it's available on Amazon. It's Invisible to Invincible. And this is my signature talk and what I talk about. And it talks a little bit about my story of, so if you've been a person who's gone through abuse, the first part is a little hard to go through because I'm very real and vulnerable on everything that was happening. And then I go through some of the techniques and ways to change your own mindset if you've gone through some severe traumas, this book will help highlight them and give you some ideas to shift. But I really do recommend working with somebody to clear those for you. And then what I was, just as you were talking about, and you said, how do you reprogram your brain and how do you remember to put in the positive things? I created this journal for people, and it has all of the prompts that I invite people to have. So it starts with I am unique. Choose empowering language. And then I invite them to just write down what's going on with them, because it really helps to get it out of swirling in here and at least onto a piece of paper and out. And hey, it could even be a great blog.
All right. Well, that is awesome. So if people wanted to work with you or connect with you, at this point, share, your websites, social media, what services you have.
Goodness. Okay. Best way to find out more about me is successandclarity.com. That's successandclarity.com. I'm working really hard to make sure that what I do is as clear as possible on there, because I really do pride myself on being a good communicator. And I'm easy to find. Suzanne Longstreet, while a simple name to say, certainly in North America, is not very common. So I'm easy to find on Google. And I'm on Facebook, Suzanne Longstreet, on LinkedIn, Suzanne G. Longstreet, and Instagram. And the best way I really want to connect with people first. I want to find out, because I might be able to just help you in an original, like just a clarity session, a quick call. And sometimes you need a little bit more help. I have 3 different packages ranging from 3 months to a full year. It depends on what you need and what you're open to. And I want to make sure that I create a custom package. It's one-on-one coaching is what I do, and really work with the individual. So it's a safe place, because oftentimes, yourself as a leader and public figure, there are times when you're always on and in front of your team, and at home, and we're always on. And I'm the one place where people can come and to say, okay, I just need to get this out. And I often am the person. One of the often used phrases that I hear from my clients is, Suzanne, I've never told anybody this. And then they lay out the thing that they've been holding on to that's not serving them. And when that is out and witnessed and cleared, it's amazing how much rent it's been taking up for free in the brain and stopping them. And that's how I think that's probably the best way to describe. It's like we clear all the rooms in the house, so that in the attic, so that you can go off and just go with a clear conscience and go out into the world. So yeah, that's how I work with people one-on-one over months or a year or years. I have some clients that I've been working with for years, not because we have to go back and do the previous work. It's as they've gone out and they've built their business, they've had new things come up, and that's the spiral. And so we clear that so they can go out and get to the next level.
Wonderful. So now I have a personal question for you. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
We shared this on camera before, and I think we share this too, is my painting. I am having such a good time. I'm just starting to play around with my these are alcohol inks paintings, and I'm playing around. Oh, this was my first one. I'd done this when I was cleaning out the brushes at the end. And so it's rubbing alcohol. And I would put some water in it. And I got this beautiful gold. And I thought, I'm going to just throw that so I was in the bathroom cleaning the brushes, and I created this one. So this was what was meant to be a mistake that has ended up being my favorite one. So this is what gives me, and this is what's been giving me great joy. And I'm also been turning them into greeting cards that I want to send to people. So who knows, if you sign up and have a clarity session with me and give me your address, you might get one of my handmade cards that I've been making and thoroughly enjoying it because, quite frankly, I'm running out of wall space to hang things. So that's what gives me great joy, and plus spending time with my fabulous husband. So those are my two passions right now.
All right, thank you. And thank you for being on the podcast today and sharing all your wisdom. And I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you. I loved your questions. Thank you so much for having me here. This has been really wonderful.
Yeah, so I have one last question before
Oh,
we complete. What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
feed yourself with positive talk and know really that the world needs everybody. And if you have any doubt, just let it go and show up, because there's somebody out there in the world who needs you the way you are, with your story, with everything that's going on. And I think that's the most important thing to know. So stop telling yourself you can't and start believing in who you really are, because it's magnificent, I'm certain.
Great. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good.